people have the power to create machines, the power to create happiness. You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful, to make this life a wonderful adventure. Then in the name of democracy, let us use that power. Let us all unite.
Welcome, everybody, back to another edition of Let's Take 5, the podcast where we look at one of the greats of cinema and discuss their excellence and range. My name is Eric Martindale.
I'm Austin Luger.
And today we are wrapping up, well, we're not doing the wrap-up, but we're finishing off the 5 films of our Charlie Chaplin 5. The previous films we covered were The Gold Rush, City Lights, Modern Times, The Great Dictator, and today we will be doing Monsieur Verdoux. Monsieur Verdoux, I'm just going to call it Verdoux from here on out, is the 1947 drama, comedy, crime movie, not mystery, movie that Charles Chaplin did. It's a talkie picture where basically he plays the character of Verdoux, who has a wife who is in a wheelchair and a son to look after, and in order to support them, he lives about 4 or 5 different lives where he's the suitor for other women, eventually marries the women, rich women, that's being the key component here, murders the women, takes their money, and then sends it back to his family. This is a rinse and repeat. It sort of does this for a while, and that's the plot. That's the plot of the movie. There's a summary. It gets a little more dense than that at the end, but overall, that's pretty much the long and short of the film. This was a film that I would say for the first 20 minutes or so, 25 minutes, I was pretty bored, to be honest. I thought it was a little boring. And as the movie went on, I actually started to kind of buy into it a lot more and started to enjoy it a lot more. And by the end, I actually ended up, I think, liking this movie quite a bit. So that's basically where I went. So the movie had ebbs and flows for me. I'm not in love with the ending. I'm not in love with the beginning. But it's a longer Chaplin movie. It's about 2 hours and 5 minutes. And the meat of it, I actually enjoyed quite a bit. There's some really, really funny parts of this movie. And in the same point, it's interesting watching Chaplin play a character that is very, very not Chaplin.
And that's why I'm glad we covered this one, because, with our 5, we never do the top 5 best films. It's the top 5 to show that excellence in range. And to me, this is a really interesting film of the career that could have been. Mm-hmm. During his Tramp era, Chaplin was the king. Great Dictator was a financial failure, now critically adored. But he just didn't make very many films after that, and this is one that's kind of gave us some new appreciation. But, I mean, to me, I'm still not a huge fan of this movie. It almost feels like a flawed but middle-of-the-run Hitchcock film. But I would have loved to see, Chaplin refine this way of storytelling like he did for Tramp-style comedy.
Yeah, no, I get with you, and I think I hear you, but it's kind of funny, though, because he hit a grand slam with the very first one in The Great Dictator. So, and even though it was a commercial failure, so at that point probably Chaplin may be just seen as a failure in general, but, is this as good as The Great Dictator? Absolutely not, but, I mean, he had something going. I mean, I am surprised, I will say, at how good he is as just an actor.
To watch him as an actor is why you should watch this film, because I think that the script's too long. I think the direction is off for a lot of the film. I think you just couldn't really nail the tone of the dark comedy and didn't really know how to do the film language of exposition scenes, because those don't exist in a Tramp comedy. Yeah. But when you watch Chaplin as an actor, to play Verdoux and to play Verdoux off a little bit, Verdoux 2, Verdoux 3, essentially, of all these different roles, it's a really, really good performance. And it's because Chaplin knows that this story is so dark, he needs to play it like someone who thinks this is the right thing to do. And so much of the dark comedy can come from that. It's
a hard balance to get, right?
Absolutely.
So, you are, at least by the end, I was rooting for him, but I had no real reason to root for him other than I just like Charlie Chaplin. Mm-hmm. So I think his likability almost kind of hurts the film in a way, because I'm never able to make my own judgment about the character and remove myself and not say it's Charlie Chaplin, which is exactly the problem he probably thought he would have. You know what I mean?
I do, and I kind of wish like someone else directed this, because this performance, if you had it in a tonally more challenging film, if the world and the camera kind of judged and highlighted different aspects of what it means to do what you're doing here, that performance would fit so well into it. But it's filmed like such a traditional drama that you have a super nuanced performance and a nuanced script often, not nailing it in a way that you see the kind of satire that we saw in Great Dictator or Modern Times, because he doesn't like know how to... I feel like he knows how to find comedy in that darkness, whereas this isn't necessarily the same kind of comedy. And I don't know, it felt off, but often so good.
Yeah,
as well.
so some of it was really good. I mean, like, in particular, there's a scene where he just can't kill this one woman. He's tried killing this woman.
Amazing.
Yeah, he's tried killing this woman in different scenes. He's tried to get her to pull her money out of the bank. She's just, every single moment he keeps trying to kill this woman, and he just can't do it. And which amounts to this scene where he takes her out fishing on a boat, and he's going to drown her in the lake. And he's just, everything ends up thwarting him. He just wants to kill this woman. That, to me, was the best part of the movie. It somehow struck a fantastic balance of the comedy and the fact, and us being okay that he was murdering her. Like, because she's obnoxious too, and we're laughing, and it's like, yeah, no, that's all really good. Which is in total contrast to a woman who, one of his other wives that he meets earlier in the film, who she's just really, she knows he's a bad person, and he ends up tricking her. There's going to be a round on the banks tomorrow, so he's able to get her money out of the bank. And then that night he murders her, and there's nothing really funny about any of that. That all came off like,
you're a bad person.
Yeah, like totally off. Right. Yeah. And so, and that's kind of what I was getting at, and I think that probably caps off, maybe that's about a half hour in the movie or something like that, but that was the point for me where I said, yeah, I'm not really into this, but then for another hour, I kind of was. Yeah, it's all really sinister and feels it's totally bizarre, I guess. I didn't know what I was watching, and I don't really know if I ever did.
I still don't. Yeah. And but you kind of see all the parts that do, because that woman we talk about where he just can't kill, what's her name? Her name is Martha Ray, is the actress' name. She is so funny because she's allowed to just be the worst person, and she's the worst person in something that's all like dialogue based, which we don't see, and we see it in tons of like 40s comedies at this time, but not in a Chaplin comedy. And she's just the worst when she's on this boat. He just wants to kill her. He just really wants to kill her. And then
first of all, they're only on the boat anyway because he tried to kill her earlier and ended up getting his medicine, the poison, swapped with someone else.
Yes,
which that was great dark humor. That all worked, and he was trying to kill her, and then he thinks he drank the poison.
Yep.
Which is hilarious. Like, all that's great. So now it's like, this is foolproof. I'm going to take her out in the middle of the woods. We're going to get in this lake where no one's around, and I'm going to kill her. And that is all fucking hysterical.
And I think, I would be surprised if it wasn't a direct homage to F.W. Murnau's Sunrise. F.W. Murnau, who we've mentioned before, he's done Nosferatu, and I think he's also one of the great silent film directors. Technically, it's a Best Picture winner. The very first Oscars, there's Best Picture and Best Artistic Achievement, and no one knows which one's which. Sunrise is better. It's a silent film with, there's the man, the wife, and the woman, and the guy wants to leave his wife for the woman, and decides he should better kill his wife, and goes on a boat, and won't say what happens, but like, a man going on a boat with this woman to kill his wife reminded me of Sunrise. I'd be shocked if Chaplin was thinking about it, but this goes worse than Sunrise, because this woman who's so obnoxious does not know how to fish.
No, she doesn't know how to fish at all.
She sees a fish, yells at him for taking this time to put a worm on the lure. I don't want to eat no fish that's been eating worms.
Yeah, she doesn't want to eat a fish that's been eating worms. He grabs, when she turns around to fish, he finally throws chloroform on a napkin, is going to put it on her face, but she jerks to pull the fish out of the water and slaps the chloroform up into his face, knocking him out.
He just has, like, early in the scene, like, what's that in the boat? It's an anchor.
Yeah.
Tied the rope.
So he's clearly going to weight her body down.
Yeah.
And then he's finally like about to kill her. He has the noose around her neck, and he's holding the rock, and she's like, I don't think you fish like this. Like, she's confused. And then a bunch of yodelers show up and start yodeling. And then she turns to him and says one of the funniest things. She goes, oh, geez, you better take this off around my neck. They're going to think you're trying to kill me. That is all fantastic. Like, and really, really, like, that was the moment where I was like, okay, yeah, I definitely like this. And then there's another funny piece later where he's marrying another woman that he wants to kill that he's worked hard to, and then this woman shows up at the wedding. So she's there while he's marrying another woman, and that's kind of where the jig's sort of up at that point, and that's all really funny, too.
There's these small little moments, because Chaplin honestly never seems like the Tramp. I mean, obviously he's older, he's not doing the makeup and whatnot, but
there's one moment.
Which I got a couple. They're like 10 seconds total.
When he backs up out the window.
Oh, yes.
That was so Tramp. And then, I swear he makes a Tramp face earlier in the film. He's smiling, when he's smiling at her on the boat. When he's trying to pour the corn for him, and she keeps looking back at him, and he keeps making that Tramp smile at her, like he's innocent.
Whenever he counted his money in the insanely fast fashion that feels like a machine, and there's a small little moment, I even forget what happened in that scene, but he's near a clock and it strikes one, and he raises his eyebrows only. I just feel like you're just a master at every body part.
But okay, so with all this, there's the sort of Jekyll and Hyde moment where, to me, actually, what would have been probably the creepiest scene in the film had he followed through with this. Mm-hmm. He's friends with a veterinarian or some chemist who's going to develop a thing for veterinarians so they can euthanize animals. But the problem is it was not approved because it's untraceable poison, so if it fell into the wrong hands, you could kill people with impunity. Great. So yeah, he finds a girl on the street, and he said, well, if you're going to do it to a vagrant, no one's going to care anyway, and you can just see if the medicine works. And he invites her in. He takes really good care of her. He's really, really nice to her. Beautiful actress, by the way. Mm-hmm. And then he poisons the wine and gives her the wine. She's going to drink the wine, but he's feeding her. She's starved and all this other stuff. And then she starts to talk about her past, which mirrors his past, and how she was in love with someone who was an invalid and was injured in the war, and how his wife is an invalid as well. And they're having this conversation, and then he decides not to poison her. This scene actually works really, really good. There's a lot of tension in this scene. The poisoned wine glass ends up playing kind of like Chekhov's gun, as it's there. You can't take your eyes off the poisoned wine glass. And he does end up stopping it and not letting her kill. It's the first time we've seen his morality kind of be reflected towards another human being that wasn't his wife.
And it felt really aware as well, because, this is also the youngest woman that we've seen kind of in this story. And there's a point in the conversation when they actually do talk about her beauty, and there is, the acknowledgement from Verdoux, and I think Chaplin, of, I feel bad for you, and I recognize a fraction of that is that you're beautiful.
Yeah, that's great.
And I think that's a really smart thing, because it's not like these women are, ogres or anything, but they are older women who, some are obnoxious and then some are extremely old. But yeah, there's something just very interesting about that, and it kind of has
perspective. Sure,
it has. The movie makes you challenge Verdoux the entire time, and I think that is a strength of the film. I think it would be better with a sharper director to kind of go with the waves as much, but the performance is so consistently good. Yep, that feels like the same Verdoux through every lie. Does that make sense? And that scene really did feel like a moment where I think he just kind of recognized how many people he's killed. I think he kind of saw his wife in this woman, his wife number one, and doesn't stop, but stops today.
Yeah, he doesn't. He lets her go.
And it's so sweet when he takes away the poisoning. It's that moment where he just it's not like she's about to drink it and takes away from her lips. He says, I think it's corked.
Yeah, I think there's cork in the wine. And
then he gives her another glass too. Yeah,
the way it reflects his morality, sort of, is reflected here is kind of interesting, because it only really comes out when he sees this character. Because later, she runs into him on the street, and he's like, "Oh, do you want money?" He's kind of pushy with her, and and she's like, "No, I just want to say hi. I just want to see you." And he goes, "Here, take this," and he gives her some money, and he starts to walk away, and she's like, "Well, when I ever see you again?" He's like, "Hopefully, for your sake, not. I'm horrible."
Yeah.
Basically, is what he says, and then he leaves her. It's interesting seeing those flashes of that. I'm not sure if it makes the movie better. but
Well, it's a
it just keeps
curiosity.
throwing me off, you know what I mean, on what I'm actually watching.
Well, Verdoux, he's so passionate about his quest that he, aside from that scene, has no time to do anything except for seduce and kill women to get back to his family. Like, there isn't times where he's just, at the movies.
Yeah.
That's all he has to do. Like,
That's a good
he's
point.
financially in a horrible situation. I think he's aware that he doesn't have time for kindness besides the kindness he's working to achieve.
Well, and he ends up, there is a cop that is on his trail, and he ends up poisoning that cop, and again, that wasn't funny to me.
No.
It was, I think they thought it would be.
I didn't think it was that funny.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. I was kind of,
I didn't laugh really at all during this film. I just smiled a few times, but I think it's just
You
like
didn't laugh at the boat? Come on, the boat's...
no. I liked her.
Yeah.
I liked just how insane her dialogue was.
Yeah.
Of, give me that rod. Go throw it at the fish.
I'm going to throw the rod at the fish.
You don't know how to fish.
Yeah, so that said, so, like, so this is the worst Chaplin movie we've covered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, not the worst Chaplin ever.
Yeah.
It's just a really interesting one, and like I feel that like his third thriller would have been incredible.
Yeah.
Like there's so many elements here. Also, I love, just because like I would have loved to be at this dinner party, the title sequence, first time that we've covered, has another writing credit to this one. Did you catch that?
No, I didn't.
It said still written by Charlie Chaplin, but based off an idea by Orson Welles.
Oh, I did see
Yeah.
that. Oh, I thought that was interesting. So, Charlie Chaplin doing an idea based off of Orson Welles.
Definitely were like just shooting the shit at dinner, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Got drunk and talked about like this. Because there are like, there's a really great novel that came out, I believe in the late 80s, early 90s, by Donna Westlake called The Axe. It's another kind of great dark satire about a man who is unemployed, can't get a job, and happens to stumble upon a list of everyone who's applying for this job, and he decides to murder all of them so he can get this job because he needs work. And it's the kind of same world as Verdoux, where you're doing a horrible act for a good cause with economic strife.
Well, we talked about it in Modern Times too, and he clearly had opinions about that, and those opinions come to the forefront here because you don't really get this until the end of the film. So he ends up getting caught. The woman that he brought into his house, she ends up making a lot of money, and they go out to dinner, and then one of the wives he murdered, the family notices him, and he gets caught. This all takes place in France, so they're going to kill him with a guillotine because they're French and that's what they do. That's how they roll.
Yeah.
No pun intended. But it should have been intended because that would make good. He all of a sudden the movie gets political. There's political points to make about society. Society has created a world of wealth seekers, and he just wanted to save his family. And in the line, there is a line, I'm paraphrasing, but it's very similar to this. If I could build a bomb and kill millions, I'm a hero. But if I kill this one woman to feed my family, I'm a murderer. And the logic is really kind of screwed up.
Well, and this is where it goes with my thing, like the direction is never consistent enough.
Yeah.
Is Verdoux speaking for the film in this ending, do you think? Or is this the actions of the character Verdoux, and we're still supposed to judge him?
Well, we don't see enough of Verdoux like this.
Right.
So the only times where he's not putting on a facade, or as a short scene earlier with his family, and then a smaller one later, and then when he decides not to kill the girl. But even for most of that scene, he's got the facade up. So basically all we have that is a big chunk is the dinner at the end, because by this point Verdoux's been wrecked. He's lost all his money because of the Depression. And he's treated to dinner by the woman that he saved those years ago. That's really the only time we see him without this facade. So when I watch this, I can't help but just see Charlie Chaplin. And I'm going to tie in an opinion or something here. It's not that I don't agree with his opinion or I have opinions on his opinions. I do. But it just seems out of left field. I don't need to see a trial sequence in this movie. Yeah. I don't need to see his last meals day before his death or hour before his death or whatnot. I don't need to see all that. I don't need to see him be found guilty or not. I mean, I'd rather him just get killed.
Well, I mean,
if you're going to do it
film
anyway.
Should be a half hour shorter. To be honest, it's way too long.
It is.
And I always keep thinking, it's my second time watching it, that he dies on the boat.
Yeah.
I just wanted him to accidentally get murdered, he falls off the boat at one point because he has to by laws of comedy. Mm-hmm. I just kind of want him to drown there.
Yeah.
I just really wanted her to one-up him completely by accident. But the film doesn't, and it goes on another half hour.
Yeah, it does. It's like, I guess the fear was they didn't want the movie to end quietly. They wanted to have something big like that at the end.
I guess so.
But the 15 minutes of that film just does not seem like the rest of the film at all. It seems like Charlie Chaplin had something he wanted to say, and he takes this opportunity to say that. Now, he's done that earlier. He did that in Great Dictator with the famous dictator speech, but that all fit the film. That was all tonally appropriate.
Yeah, I mean, this one, you get... It's cool to see Verdoux's rationalization for all the horrors he's done. I don't know. I just kind of wish that there was more ambiguity about whether this is speaking for Chaplin or not. Because there is, if someone's going to spend this much work, this is so planned out what you're doing for so many lies, so many different financial ways to do this. He has to lie in bed and find a reason why this is a good thing.
And don't try to get me on your side.
Yeah.
You've been murdering people the whole film. Don't do that. Don't make that ridiculous suggestion that somehow you're a victim here too. That seems weird to me. And it is weird because it's not even like the character. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like the character anyway. But regardless, he is changed because of the Depression. We don't actually see that transformation. We just see him at the end of the transformation. So perhaps I'm made to imply that somehow during the Depression when he lost his wife, it is revealed that he lost his wife and kid. They're dead. So maybe that had something to do with it. But it's just not enough for me. And I don't want to even see more because the movie's too long anyway.
Well, also Breaking Bad was better.
Yeah. Yeah. But in Breaking Bad, in the end, he admits he did it for him.
Yes.
And
we don't have that moment here.
I would rather him have done that.
Yeah.
I would rather him have said, no, actually, I kill those people to make money.
Yeah. Fuck them.
Yes, exactly. That's right.
Well, that's
Breaking Bad, it ripped off Verdoux.
Yeah.
It improved Verdoux.
More of Breaking Bad's family's alive, but not all.
Yeah.
Hope you've all seen Breaking Bad. But I don't know. There's something. It makes a point that it's a lot of older women. Too.
Yeah.
These people who are closer to be on the way out.
That's how he's able to sucker the men.
Right. I don't know. This is a strange thing because this wasn't too far away from Frank Capra's Arsenic and Old Lace, right? Of old women murdering people.
Yeah, that's a better movie though.
Oh, it is a better movie.
Yeah,
but it's very curious of the farcical elderly murders.
Yeah, but this doesn't feel that farcical.
Yeah, that's why I think it's really a direction thing because at some points it really is, some points it isn't. The film goes too much with Verdoux in the moment when we needed a storyteller that is a step away from Verdoux and watching the world shift around Verdoux.
Yeah, I think that may have helped. I think some of it may just be a script issue too because the movie really wants you to feel. I think there's two problems. They want you to feel like this is a very different Charlie Chaplin. That was you could tell that was the advertisement campaign for this thing. You're going to get a different Charlie Chaplin. And in order to do that, they tried to, make the film more dramatic than it really needed to be. I think it would have been more funny if it just tried to be a comedy.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, it would have been more funny if it tried to be a comedy, but I feel like it would have been a better movie.
I think it would have been darker, too. Because,
it would have ended up succeeding.
If you stick with that kind of darkness all the way through, and even have him be joyful in killing people, then it's more of a monster. You're watching the Tramp, still not the Tramp, but the Tramp do this. In many ways, I saw Chaplin kind of be very aware of the Tramp persona. It reminded me of the Netflix show Jessica Jones, and in that show, David Tennant is such a sociopath, and it's just truly one of the cruelest villains you watch on a show. But in many times, you see Tennant purposefully use mannerisms that he used as the Doctor, which is a super charismatic character. And it's almost look how I'm using that same charisma to be fucking evil. and that's creepy. And I almost felt like many times like this was like, oh, look, it's a tramp. I can kind of see a sparkle in your eye. Oh, that woman's dead now.
Yeah.
And that's, as an acting point, really good.
Yeah, and it just never commits to that.
Yeah.
It never does. And when it does kind of go that way, it feels inconsistent and jarring because the very next scene is going to be so different.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it certainly has highs and lows. I think it is a good movie overall.
Mm-hmm.
Is it one of the weaker movies we've covered on this podcast? Probably. But
we've covered the greatest of cinema, so.
Right, we covered the greatest of cinema.
And Maverick.
Right, and Maverick. And with this movie, I still think that, Charlie Chaplin, even with this considered, I think it's certainly it can be in there. It's not a bad movie.
I think you like it more than I do, but I really like watching this for just how different it is. And, man, I wish he made 40 films.
Yeah, I know.
It's just a bummer that what comes out.
Well, he did
10?
if you count the shorts.
Well, then he made 1,000.
Yeah.
But it's man, I would really love to have seen the more different phases of his career because talented dude.
Yeah, unbelievable.
And we will talk about his entire career next Wednesday as we do the Charlie Chaplin wrap-up. And you will hear us talk about the films we covered, the films we didn't, and more of Charlie Chaplin, as well as announcing our next 5. Until then, you can go to thearttomorrow.com and you can leave a comment on this film. Let us know what you think of Verdoux and the Tramp. And while you're there, check out the other podcasts. The Immortals this week covered the sci-fi classic The Day the Earth Stood Still and the Norman Lear soap opera parody Mary Hartman, and also Ad Absurdum. Those pop culture legal experts decided to look at what's up with Westworld. Turns out, legally, oh boy. Where can we find you, Eric?
You can find me at Constant Diversion. That's my YouTube channel. You know that by now.
You know it.
You've been there. You probably watched those videos 1,000 times by now, and you're like, where's the next one? And the answer is, I don't know. But it's coming.
Yeah.
It'll be there.
Yeah.
Keep checking it out.
It's your destiny.
It's our destiny.
Oh. All right. Leave a comment. Let's see if I have it. artmore.com. The Immortals Pod on Twitter. You got it. We'll catch you all next Wednesday. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Little you know about women.
You'd be surprised.
That isn't love.
What is love?
Giving, sacrificing. The same thing a mother feels for her child.
Did you love that way?
Yes,
Whom?
my husband.
You're married?
I was. He died while I was in jail.
See. Tell me about him.
That's a long story. He was wounded in the war, a hopeless invalid.
An invalid?
That's why I loved him. He needed me, depended on me. He was like a child. But he was more than a child to me. He was a religion. My very breath. I'd have killed for him. No, love is something very real and deep. I know that. However...
Pardon me. I believe there's a little cork in that wine. Let me get you another glass.